Sure, call the towing service. Dig your own grave. I was visiting my mother with my car, picking her up to go to a restaurant. At her residence, I had trouble finding a parking spot, so I parked my car near an entryway. Parked in quotes because I kept the car running and stayed behind the wheel, texting my mom to come out because I'm waiting for her, in case I have to move the car to let someone else pass. While I was waiting for my mom, another resident pulled up in his car and went into the entryway. I had to move the car a bit to let him in. The dude exited his car and came to me, red-faced. "What do you think you're doing? You can't park here, that's illegal. That's why the car is running and I'm sitting inside." "I'm not parking." "Like duck you are." "I am calling the tow service and you better not move," and then he went into his home. So, I complied. I was pissed, but I stayed. Technically, I could have just left, driving carefully around him. He never wrote down my license plate and I did not violate any rules. But he said to not move, so I didn't. When my mom came down, I explained the situation to her, and she agreed with me, that I have not broken any laws. A few minutes later, the tow truck came. I stepped out, with a bit of a scowl on my face, ready to clear up the misunderstanding, but instead, the tower took the initiative with a smile. "Ah, I see what's going on. You got blocked in. Let me fix that for you," and he towed the other guy's car. In the end, the angry dude had to pay to get his car back, as well as pay for the towing, since he called the tow service, and I got a nice meal at a restaurant and a fun story to tell.
Now to the comments. If you are flammable and have legs, you are never blocking a fire exit. Mitch Hedberg.
"Aw Mitch. Love that guy. Rib."
I used to love Mitch. I still do, but I used to, too. We have people do this in the fire lane in front of businesses. Sometimes the driver gets out, sometimes a passenger. I have shown up to emergency calls and had to park far away from the fire department connection, FDC, because some idiot was sitting in his car not parked because he's in it. People want to argue with the fire department during emergencies about this rather than just move. If emergency vehicles pull up and ask you to move, please do so. The funniest one was when we had a fire at one of our McDonald's restaurants. We had cars getting in the drive-thru even though we had fire hose pulled. I finally parked the Command Tahoe blocking the drive-thru. A guy laid on the horn to get me to move. He must have really wanted his Happy Meal. I used the PA to tell him the restaurant was on fire, which the 7 fire engines should have clued him in on. He turned around pissed off and almost hit the ambulance going the wrong way out. Fun times.
I have shown up to emergency calls and had to park far away from the fire department connection, FDC, because some idiot was sitting in his car not parked because he's in it. It's too bad you couldn't just bust out his windows and snake your hoses through his car to the FDC.
I actually had the pleasure of watching a crew break windows on a car and pull a hose through. Guy actually drove around the fire trucks trying to get set up, parked and left. He ignored their attempts to stop him. It was beautiful watching them look at the car, each other, shrug and break the windows. I'm glad it worked out that way, but next time don't step out of the car. Tow trucks can't tow with a person inside a car. Even if that person is breaking the law. You may be ticketed but not towed. If you ever see a tow in progress of your car, jump inside the car. Don't even argue with them. Edit, if your car isn't already hooked up. Edit, not the same if you consented to being towed while inside your car because you obviously won't sue.
From the story, I think Mom was still in the car, so it wasn't a problem. I hadn't known this, though, so thanks for the info.
Mom, yeah, who is this mom character anyways? What's their relationship to OP? Seems fishy, I don't think mom is a real person. The part about staying idle in your car and not parking and still getting yelled at reminds me of the time I was picking up my dad from where he worked on Duke campus. I stayed idle in my car, but that didn't stop some asshat doctor from coming running out of one of the buildings waving her arms and saying that I wasn't allowed to park in the empty spot nearby. Which I had no intention of doing. Because that was her spot. A few minutes later I had picked my dad up and we were on our way, but not before someone else from campus had laid on the horn at a red light because I was stopped and he wanted to turn right on red. That was a fun day. Duke University.
I once parked on a college campus for a meeting and a woman came out yelling I couldn't park there and that it was only for a specific guest coming to see her boss. I told her I am here to see Mr. Farrow and started walking towards the building for my meeting. She grabbed my arm to try and stop me. I whipped around and yelled I am the guest, you idiot. Not the only time on that campus people assumed I didn't belong. Apparently having a big bushy beard and looking like a farmer makes people think you couldn't possibly be part of the college, even though the college is known for its agricultural program.
LMAO, I am the guest, you idiot. Amazing bro. When you are with your car like that, it is called standing. There are three things: stopping, standing, and parking. Stopping is like coming to a stop at a red light or stop sign. Parking is stopping the car, putting it in park, and removing the key. Standing is when you stop the car, put it in park, but leave the engine running and stay with it. You can't park in a fire truck zone, but you can stand there. The difference would be that if you are standing, you can be moving out of the way in seconds, whereas parking could take minutes.
It might depend on where you are. In California it's illegal to stop or stand in a red zone as well as park. Now I've never seen anyone actually punished for it in any way, but technically illegal.
Now that's funny. This can be quite confusing AF because there are no stopping or standing at any time signs around the downtown area and schools, but there's a stop sign, a bus stop, or traffic lights within 4 feet sometimes.
Is that in the red zone?
There is no stopping in the red zone. Definitely an overreaction from the other dude. However, I would be annoyed if someone were stopped by the entryway in a manner in which no one can get in unless they move their car, which I assume still requires a bit of careful navigating to get through.
My wife and I were picking up our kid from school the other day and she decided to idle in a spot that was clearly marked no parking. I told her to move, but she replied that it was legal since she was not parking. I researched the law and discovered for the first time in my 45 years something called standing. Standing refers to being in your car, even with the engine running and you behind the wheel, while waiting. According to my local laws, in general, areas that don't allow parking, pretty much don't allow standing as well. For example, if the curb is painted red, we all know that you cannot park there, but you can also get a ticket for standing.
I learned about standing as a kid looking at the Guinness Book of World Records. The picture was of the tallest guy in the world standing next to a sign that said no standing. I was so confused. Sorry if someone's already said this. You didn't have to stay there at all. He had zero authority in that situation. So what if he got your plates? You weren't doing anything wrong. So what if he calls the cops when you move? You weren't doing anything wrong. Great story. Most states' parking laws are defined with parking, stopping and standing a motor vehicle. Parking is when you turn the vehicle off and leave the area. Standing is when the operator turns off the vehicle and gets out but remains in the general area to move it quickly if need be. Stopping is what you did, vehicle running, driver behind the wheel. Didn't see that coming, thank you. You were stopping/standing, not parking. Well, he wanted the car towed, he didn't specify which one, I guess. Be a dumptish. Today I learned that in the US you don't even have to be behind the wheel or with the engine running for the car to be considered stopped and not parked. The only requirement is that you are waiting to pick up a passenger. In Italy, where I live, it's considered a stop if you are behind the wheel, otherwise the car is parked. Edit. As others pointed out, I was partially wrong. You are actually stopped if you are ready to move as needed. Different states have slightly different rules. In Florida, stopping in front of a driveway is explicitly forbidden unless you are picking up a passenger or loading/unloading the car. Section 1.b.1.
In Denmark, loading and unloading counts as stopped, so, if you are moving, you can have a moving van stopped as long as you are transporting goods to or from the van, but the moment you decide to have lunch break, it is parked.